Hey everyone, I'm finishing this chapter on John Maxwell's The 21 Laws of Leadership and looking at the law of solid ground. So there's an example in here that John Maxwell gives about the American culture and how the trust was lost in the American culture and they never got it back in the Vietnam War, because they kept telling people they were winning the war, and everything was going well, but actually they were losing the war. And the result of that is a break in the psyche, it's a break in the trust, and they were never able to get it back. And then after that they had the Watergate scandal, and everything came out because all the calls were being taped, and their leadership never ever got that trust back from the public. So the same thing has happened here in Canada. We voted for change, we voted for new leaders, we voted on hope, and when the government came in, they didn't fulfill their promises. They broke those promises that they made to us. Then people had gone to them asking them to change the way the elections took place, to change different things, and they didn't meet those promises. But yet, in spite of that, people voted them in a second time. So for me, I don't get it, right? I mean, if people break their promises and they don't do what they're saying they're going to do, I don't get why people would vote for them again, because my life has not gotten better under the Liberals. I lost my property that I had through no fault of my own. I had contract work. HSBC pulled all their business out of Canada because they couldn't believe what was happening in the country. And that was after I lost my job. Now we have the same thing happening with TD, with the scandal in America. And I'm the one getting the brunt of it. The same way that they couldn't fix my ID. When you are an employee of a company, the onus is on the company to provide the tools, to set you up, to make sure you can do your work. You're not there as a friend. You're not there to be their honey and their sweetheart and their darling. And those words actually mean nothing in the workplace. Let me tell you that now. They mean nothing. If your grandmother is calling you sweetie and darling, that's different. But in the workplace, don't fall for that. The onus is on them. It's on them to provide the tools, to control the work, to do the setup, to make sure that you can do your job. So they didn't do that for me. And then they let me go. Was it my fault? No. And this keeps happening over and over and over and over. In every single job I've had in Canada, somebody else does something wrong and I land up getting hurt. So, I mean, for me, there's no trust. It's a very contractual relationship that I have, including in the church. They have a contractual relationship with me and I have a contractual relationship with them. They have rights and responsibilities, and I have rights and responsibilities, because the trust is broken. And that's what it comes down to. Because of the sexual scandals, because of the way that this great reset was done, it's becoming the same the world over. Here in Canada, our food bank usage is up, and you have to basically be like on welfare to get that help from the food banks. I don't qualify for it. My mother will get from the church and then she'll share it with me. Really and truly, I did not think I would leave Zimbabwe and come here and get hurt like this. I really didn't. I didn't think I would be sitting on calls with people telling me, go back to Zimbabwe. Oh, you sound like you have an Indian accent, or you sound like an English school teacher. I'm proud of my accent. I was trained to talk. I was trained to have elocution. I speak this way because my teachers taught me to speak this way. And you can't say anything on the calls. You can't say anything because then they'll say, you're the problem. You don't have empathy. You don't have compassion. What about their compassion for us? Do they have any compassion for what they did to us in Africa? Do they have any compassion that because of them, generations right down to the 6th and 7th generation are going to be living in poverty and can't come up? Do they have any compassion that they took all our crown jewels from Africa, from India, and they're sitting on the heads of their kings and queens, even here in Canada? Do they have any compassion for that? No, they don't. So please don't call it's like the pot calling the kettle black. Don't be patronizing and don't be condescending. When you learn to respect me as somebody who grew up in the third world countries and came here and had to prove myself and had no special treatment, then I'll respect you. But don't expect me to fall at your feet and tell me I have an attitude of entitlement when you went and you raped Africa, you raped women, you have women going into your houses that are being raped in the Filipino culture. Don't tell me that I'm the problem, because I'm not. And John Maxwell even says it. He says it's the Americans. He's saying we have the problem. And I agree with him. I agree with him. It's this culture. That's why he wrote these books. Do you think he wrote these books for us, for Africa? He wrote these books for Americans. They are New York Times best-selling books on leadership skills, on change, on trust, on what's happening. He wrote it for them. So because I am working in their workplaces, I'm reading them. I'm reading them so that I can speak in their common language, in what they understand. What did they do to Robert Mugabe? They didn't fulfill that Lancaster Agreement. And don't tell me, oh, there were human rights violations. When those agreements were put in place, they were put in place while those stipulations were in place. And then the government changed. It changed from a conservative government to a liberal government, and the liberals wouldn't honor it. So they must stop all this crap and this bullshit of saying that Africans are the problem and we are the problem, because we're not. We are not the problem. It's all the Indians coming into the country, bringing their disputes about the caste system and all that with them. What's happening in Vancouver? Has it got anything to do with us here? It's all their tribalism from India. It's absolute rubbish. And people like me who work hard, who do everything right by the company, by the country, who get the scores, who do the job well, we don't get the promotions. We don't get the good paying jobs. Meanwhile, the crime is going up. The police know where the car is, but they can't go and arrest that person. They can't go and tell them there's a stolen vehicle in that ship, remove it. That's Canada. And then you want to tell me to trust the police after what I went through? I don't trust. I don't trust. My trust is broken. I've seen it too many times. It started in Zimbabwe, and then I came to Canada. I worked hard. I graduated. I got my master's. I got my HR certification. And what did they do? They turned around and stabbed me in the back. Other people can come to the church 15 minutes late. They'll wait for them to start that mass. If I'm not there 15 minutes early, I'll get 5 emails about, oh, you're not fair to the priest. If you're going to send that email out, send it to everybody. And don't give me a hard time. I'll just pull. I've got no time. I invested a lot of my time and a lot of my energy in the church and in the organizations that I help. You don't want me to read, I'll just pull it. And they already told me, maybe we can find something less stressful for you. It's not stressful for me, but I also have a life. If sometimes I can't be there 15 minutes early, I'm still there in time to read. If people don't respect me and they don't respect my time, I can also pull out. The same way now, they didn't fix my ID and they offered me a night shift role at Teleperformance. I said no. And they're like, oh, you can't pass those technical tests. I said, yeah, so it's not my fault the ID wasn't working. You should have found me something else with a day shift, and you should have accommodated me. They couldn't even find my sick note. So I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous. Because I'm the one getting hurt. I'm the top employee. I'm the one telling you what's right and what's wrong. And you're listening to the client. And then all the jobs get pulled and taken away to South Africa. And whose fault is that? Is it my fault? It's not my fault. It's management's fault. It's not my fault. And I can't get into those roles that I want to be in, the jobs that pay me what I'm worth. Why? When you do everything right and you still get a bad result, it's racism and discrimination. So they can shout at me, but I can't shout at them back. I don't accept that. That's how they treated the blacks in Zimbabwe, and that's how they treated us. I push back. And John Maxwell pushes back and he challenges them because they deserve it. They deserve it. And people pay thousands of dollars to go and sit to listen to him, to tell them how screwed up their organizations are and how they have to fix it. That's what these books are about. I'm reading them because I need to have the language to push back. I need to have the language to challenge them and speak in their language. I never had this many problems in England or Ireland or Zimbabwe or South Africa. Every single job I work at, there's a problem. Every job. Either the systems are not right, or there's fraud going on, or somebody was told to do something and they didn't do it, so I got let go, or the management didn't understand. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of getting hurt. If I tell somebody to do something and they don't follow through on it, you fire me. You don't even talk to me to say, hey, Belinda, what did you tell this person? You just fire me and say, call the agency and tell her don't come back, tell her don't come back tomorrow. And you make a long list and send it to the recruiter. And then I have to sit with the recruiter and say, this is what happened, this is what happened. By then it's too late because you've terminated my employment. You've left me on the street with no job to go to, no counseling, no support in place. And I'm the one that's getting hurt. Employers need to wake up. They need to wake up and think about what they're doing. Because it's not just happening in South Africa anymore and Zimbabwe, it's happening here in Canada. The criminals are thriving. There's videos on X about a woman, they put the candy out here for Halloween. This Indian woman is going and she's literally emptying the whole box into her bag. And she's taking the lights from the veranda as well. I mean, what kind of stupidity is this? Do they do that in their villages in India? I'm sick of it. And then they'll say, oh yeah, you came here from Africa, you came here from a third country. Guess what? I've got better manners than you. I don't need a formal education to be polite and to be respectful. I'm sick of it and I'm sick of getting hurt because they are doing it on purpose and they're doing it with the support of the executive. You think TD didn't know what was happening? You think the Vatican didn't know what was happening with Credit Suisse? They are senior people. They are senior people leading in the Vatican. They're not nobodies. They knew. They all know what's happening. Just like they all knew what was happening when Lancaster Agreement wasn't done properly. They all knew. So every time I must get hurt so they can cover it up. I'm glad the journalists caught TD and Credit Suisse and on the Vatican. I'm glad it happened. And I'm glad all the sexual abuse got exposed in the church. People think people are leaving in droves to come in Canada. Not anymore. They're taking the jobs back to South Africa because they're also sick of it. I'm tired of it. If I had taken my phone onto the training floor, those Indian trainers would have let me go right away. The other Indian girls got 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 chances. So how is it fair to me and to my family? Is it fair? It's not fair and it's not right. The trust is broken. The trust is broken in this country. But people will keep voting Justin Trudeau in. They'll keep promoting the people who are corrupt. They'll keep saying, oh yeah, well, you know what? Give them another chance. But when it's me, I don't get any second chances. And it's not fair. I also deserve to earn the big bucks, to get those big paying jobs, to own a property. I deserve it because I'm good. But instead, all the crooks and everybody else is getting all the accolades and getting the promotions. And Justin Trudeau staying in hotels that cost more than my rent for one night. Double what I pay in rent for one night. And people are voting them in. Because why? Because their families are benefiting. I can volunteer with Justin Trudeau. I can volunteer with the One campaign. I can volunteer with everybody. Do I get even one little iota of special treatment? No, nothing. Even with a doctor's note, I couldn't get a day shift. So I had to work. I had to work because there was nothing else I could do. It's good that John Maxwell wrote these books. The Americans deserve it. They deserve it. These are all Bible principles. And they pay thousands of dollars to go sit and listen to John Maxwell for 1 hour or for 30 minutes. Now I'm part of that team. And it probably gets their goat. But you know what? Keep hurting me and God will keep blessing me. And when he's tired of seeing me hurt, he'll say, come home, my child. Your pain is over. Well done, good and faithful servant. I'm glad the banks got caught.